Greetings, BUSN 1360, Software Applications for Business. So as I'm recording this, it's overcast outside and it's a Friday afternoon and we're in for a rainy weekend, I believe. So I thought several of you may be finishing up your quiz and your simulators and you're progressing into the grader project, so I thought we could work it together. I think it's especially important as we move into Chapter 2 of Excel. Chapter 1, we're getting that overview and foundation. And in Chapter 2, we're going to start working, a little bit more with formulas and inch our way into advanced features. And it brings up troubleshooting because you're going to get feedback from the grader, and the grader may tell you, hey, I see this as being wrong, but it's really more of an indication that there is something wrong, and it may not be exactly what the grader is pointing to. And that's okay. I realize it might be frustrating, which is why I'm doing this video, but it's okay because the big challenge in Excel is always with the troubleshooting, especially as you build formulas. Oftentimes the problem occurs in the steps before. So we're going to get used to going back and saying, okay, I see that there's an error here on step 5, but what did I do in step 3 or step 2 that might have had kind of a trickle-down effect? It might have had a flow-through problem, especially with the graders, because the graders are computerized, and the importance of the grader is to give you that immediate feedback. But that being said, when you're stuck, folks, I hope I'm out here, I'm ready to help you. So, use that immediate feedback, but when you're referencing your simulators and you're using your book and you're just banging your head against the wall, reach out. Absolutely reach out. And so, for example, I'm going to do this video. So I went ahead and took the liberty of downloading the files, and I noticed that they gave me 3 separate files. And a little unusual that they're doing this in Excel. This is our first semester in this book, and they normally would not provide, but I've noticed that they've been doing this, providing a picture of the final result. So I hope you take advantage of this, because this is great. I've gone ahead and double click to open that. My computer takes, my computer takes a long time to open pictures, and so I thought, let me open this. And I thought, wow, okay, I can see the full picture here. I see what's going on. I can see the color of this Flexpay calculator, and I can see the values. Now, some of these are calculated, so I don't ever want to type in values that Excel should be calculating for me. I can kind of see, okay, this looks okay, getting a little overview of how this is going to be set up, and that's always good to know. So okay, excuse me, I have gone ahead and opened my instructions, so I have those. Maybe I'll make these a little bit bigger so that we can follow those together. So here are those instructions. So we're going to start off with our file, and just as we start to look, I'm going to rename the sheet to Flexpay. So let's do that. I'm going to open up my file. Excuse me. So here's my file. And it's empty. Goodness. Okay. So I'm going to enable editing. Excuse me. And again, step number 1 of my instructions says to rename sheet number 1 to Flexpay, and it even gives me the extra tip of saying double click that to rename it, and then I'm just going to type, and I'm even going to make sure I use their capitalization, Flexpay. And one of the key things with Excel is to press enter, to hit the enter key every time you are finished, whether that's typing the name of a worksheet or typing values into a cell. Press enter. Okay, so I've done that. Now I want to start and just build a little bit slowly here to see something. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to close it. And I'm going to go over to my IT lab, and I've already logged in. And just as a reminder, we download our materials. As a special reminder, be very careful. If you are downloading all your files, remember that this creates a zip file. It is much better, much safer for you to download these individually. If you are trying to work in the zip file, you will experience difficulties because the files need to be extracted first. Okay, so if you will download these files one at a time, you will not experience, you'll save yourself some errors. Okay, close that. I am going to choose my file, and I put these in my, always important, where did you save them? I created a special file called Excel 2. Here's my spreadsheet and my workbook, and I'm going to click open, upload. That's success, and then submit for grading. If you go through this too quickly, you'll get error messages if it's not uploaded yet. Okay, so I'm going to click on close assignment. Yay, 4%. Okay, so far, and this might be significant later, remember, I can go back into this submission and I can view the feedback on this submission. So I'm looking and I'm seeing I've got full points for renaming that sheet. I know I've done that correctly. Now, obviously, I haven't done any of these other steps, and so it has marked those as being wrong. So I've got some work to do. Now, I point this out for a reason. As we continue through this workbook, it may actually come back and report to us that we have named the sheet incorrectly. And it's actually, we see right here, it's the name is perfectly fine. And that is some of this troubleshooting that I've been telling you about. It's the grader's way of saying something is so far out of alignment for the instructions. I'm so confused by what you've done that I've found an error. Now, that's not to say that you are, just, oh gosh, you're wrong. No, you're learning and you're trying to get feedback. So you may want to stop and try to figure out what have you done wrong, and it may not be that specific error. You might have to say, what was the last step that I did? Because that's the step that's wrong, not this particular step. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to coach you through how to use this feedback. And the partial feedback, we even got a little experience with that in the Word chapter. Partial feedback may not always be as reliable when you're not fully finished with the project. Okay, I do feel like we, did what we were supposed to do there. So I'm just going to go back to course materials so that, because I'm going to submit this again. Excuse me, I've been sneezing all day. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting set up here again so that I'm ready to submit when it's time for that. And I'm going to go back to my Excel file and I'm going to open it again. And we really were starting from kind of scratch. I've got my worksheet named, and what do my instructions tell me to do? Well, it says to type Flexpay calculator in cell A1 and then merge and center the title on the row across cells A1 through C1, and then apply bold, 20-point font size, blue, accent 1, font color. Goodness, lots of instructions here. So in this case, to have it printed and next to you so you're not constantly going back and forth between screens may be a really, really good idea. I'm going to go over to Excel, and it said that in cell A1 that I am to type flex space, let me move that out of the way, flex space pay space, oops, no, that was, oh yeah, calculator. Excuse me. Now, what do I do whenever I finish typing? I always press the Enter key. Now, it says I'm not done yet. I then need to merge and center the title on the first row in the range A1 through C1. So from my book, and if at any point I'm confused about how do I merge and center, I need to go back to my book because it's searchable. But I'm going to select this, A1 through C1. On my toolbar, merge and center. Voila! So I have that merged and center, but I'm still in step 3 because it says apply bold, bold, 20-point font. Here's my font, 20 points. I need to make it the blue that's accent 1. That needs to be my font color. So up here across the top, here's my font color, and I need to make it blue. Now if you hover over blue, the color, it will tell you the specific details because there are many blues here. And this one, as I hover over it, I get what's called a tooltip, and the tooltip says that it's blue, accent 1. So I'm going to click on that. Now, when I look in my cells, you might be a little concerned because, some of the stuff that I typed is cut off. Well, first of all, when I have that selected, I can look up here in the formula bar, and the formula bar always tells me what's really in that cell. If I click to a different cell, the formula bar is empty. When I click back on that cell, that merged cell, then it tells me all of that text that's spelled correctly. I didn't do a typo there. It's all there. Okay, so I feel like I have completed step number 3. If you are concerned that you did not get the color correct, you didn't, something with the font, or that this is not correct, save and go upload it into the MyIT. You get that immediate feedback, and that is one of the big reasons that we as a class use that. Okay, I have for many semesters, and actually for many years in my career, have graded these manually. And what you have to do then is kind of wait for the deadline to pass, and then I grade it, and then I get back to you. And there's so much time that goes by. In this way, we're using the computer system. You get that immediate feedback. All right, so let's continue on to step 4. So here I am, step 4. Merge and center the range A2 through C2. Okay, now I've got many more steps, but I might stop at this moment. You might read through, okay? Look at that, even a note especially for Mac users. But I'm going to focus on this first part, merge and center the range A2 through C2. A2 through C2, and it asked me to merge and center. Now, as part of my instructions, it also asked me to type in that range inputs and then apply a thick outside border or borders. So back in Excel, I'm going to type inputs, plural. Let me move my mouse out of the way. What do we do whenever we are finished typing? So when we're putting something into the cells, enter. Now when I hit enter, I moved off of the cells. So what I don't want to do at this point is I do not want to start bolding or putting font color or anything like that, because if I do, it will apply to cell A3. I need to make sure that what is selected will be affected. So I need to make sure that I have selected the appropriate cells. And in my instructions, it said after I typed that to apply thick borders. And this icon right here looks a little bit like a grouping of 4 cells. And in this picture, if you can see it, there's dotted lines around this picture of cells, except there's a solid line at the bottom. And that would mean that if I was to apply that format, it would put a solid line at the bottom of the grouping of cells that I have. Well, that's not what I want. So I'm going to go to this arrow that's right here next to it. And see how each one of these pictures looks like a grouping of cells, and it's showing the line in a different location? And that just is a way to tell me what the line is going to look like when I apply it to what I have selected. But they asked for us to apply thick outside borders. Boom! There you go. Okay, so let's move on then. That should be step 3. Or step 4, I'm sorry. There was a note to the Mac users. And I've done a couple steps now. And again, I always ask myself, do I feel good about that? Am I comfortable with the changes that I've made? And if my answer is yes, and I am comfortable with it, then I'm going to save. Always a good idea to save your work every time you finish a task. I've worked in information technologies, information systems for a long time, and a common question is, how often should I back up my data files? How often should I save my work? And there's always one answer to that question, and the answer is, how much are you willing to repeat? If you had to sit down and type the whole thing over, are you okay with that? And if your answer is yes, then it doesn't matter when you save. But if you're saying, I don't want to have to repeat all this, save. Save early, save often. But we go back to our instructions now, and step 5, type APR and number of payments in the range A3 through A4. Now, if this is a little confusing to you, and it was to me, I'm just going to be honest with you, it was to me. Let's not forget that we have that picture. So because to me it almost sounded like we should merge those. So when I look at the picture, APR in cell A3, number of payments in cell A4. Aha, picture worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to go back over here, and in cell A3, I am going to type APR. And in cell A4, I am going to type number. They wanted the pound sign there, the number sign, hashtag, number of payments. What do? I hit enter. Each time I enter data into a cell, I hit enter. Am I happy with that? Yes, I am. Save. I'm going to go back one more time to my instructions. And, look how we're just moving right through this. This is great. We're on step 6, and it tells me to type 1.75% in cell B3 and the number 36 in cell B4. This brings up the percent sign, which is a very interesting thing because the percent sign formats, it looks like a percentage, but it also changes it, it converts it, it divides by 100. So putting it in there is in essence a mathematical calculation, right? Okay, then I'm going to do some more steps, but I don't want to confuse myself, so I'm going to start with just this first part. Type 1.75% in cell B3 and the number 36 in cell B4. Let me go back over. Cell B3, I need to type 1.75%. I am going to press the enter key, and they asked me to type in the number 36, and again I'm going to press the enter key. Now, the next part of that instruction was to merge and center the range A6 through C6. So we're going to go over there, and then we're going to type outputs and apply a thick outside border. Now, I have printed these instructions off, so I would forget that, but I can read it back to you, okay? I'm just telling you it's very important to have these instructions. So A6 through, see, I already forget. You guys are sharper than I am. Your memories are better. A6 through C6. A6 through C6, and it said to merge and center. Merge and center those cells. I still have those selected, and it tells me to type outputs. What do I do whenever I finish typing? Press the enter key. That means that I have selected the cell below. I don't want that because what is selected will be affected, and I want to apply the borders to output, so I need to select it so I can affect it. Select it so you can affect it. Okay. Now, the last time I went to my borders button, it showed a different style of borders, and I had to go searching to find what I needed. But a quick tip, a time-saving tip for you, is that once I've selected that border, I don't have to go searching for it again. Excel remembers it, and all I have to do is click on it. Now, it's hard to see that border because when I have something selected, it puts a border around it. So I'm going to click away someplace so that I can see. Hey, how about that? That's great. I see my work. Let's keep on keeping on. Oh, did I save? Am I happy with that step? Save, save, save. Back to the steps. Here we go. In cell A7, I am going to type the word model. I'm going to type the word price in B7 and payment in C7. So, well, when I look at my picture, look at this, A7, B7, C7. So I'm just putting those words across, model, price, payment. Let's do that. A7, model. Now, instead of pressing the Enter key, it's a little faster if I press the Tab key because I know that I'm moving across. So model, Tab, then price, and then Tab. And so in this case, we're using Tab as a way to let Excel know we're finished typing. Payment. Now, here's a really smart Excel. I am going to press the Enter key this time. Instead of moving directly to the cell below, Excel recognized our pattern of data entry, and it assumes I am ready to type in the model. And so if I was to continue to tab across and then press Enter, it would continue in that pattern. Excel is always looking for patterns in your work, and it tries to assist you with those patterns. It's pretty smart. Let me go back to my instructions. Okay, I finished step 7. I typed model, I typed price, I typed payment. So now I'm going to type in some more values. iPhone X, Samsung Galaxy, all this, and then I'm going to enter, and it says corresponding prices in this range of cells. Wow, and apply the currency number format. I may even need to resize column A as needed. Okay, a lot of instructions going on here, no formulas. So it looks like this is all just values that I'm typing in. So in that case, I'm going to look at my picture. Oh, okay. I'm going to type those values in. I'm going to type those numbers in. And they've told me I'm going to have to format that. And I see 2 places after the decimal, and I see the $sign. Okay, we can do that. We're already in cell A8, and I am on instruction number 8, and it says to type iPhone space X. Now, it does say that I'm going to type in cell A9, that's below, so I'm pressing Enter. And then I'm going to type Samsung Galaxy, and I'm just reading from the printed copy of instructions that I have. I'm going to press Enter again, and I'm going to type LG space V30, right? And then I'm just going to press Enter just so I can kind of see that I'm done. So far so good. I'm going to save. I like to save a lot. Save a lot. Okay. Enter the corresponding prices. Well, we saw from the picture the $9.49, $7.99, $6.50. Okay. So in cell B8, I'm going to type $9.49. I am not worried about the formatting at this point. I'm just going to press Enter. When I'm on this next cell, $7.99, I'm going to press Enter, and then $6.50, and I'll press Enter. Now, the instructions now tell me to apply currency number format, currency number. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to select those cells. I started with cell B8 through B10. I want to point out something that confuses many students. This will save you a lot of errors. The first thing that I see is that column B, do you see how it's got a little shade over it, column B? And that's also true of row 8, row 9, and row 10. They're slightly shaded. But when I look at what I have selected, I see that this border has gone around everything that I selected. But cell B8, it looks strange. Why isn't it shaded? Everything else is shaded. Why isn't that one shaded? Well, you know why Excel does that? It's so that as you start to apply formats like colors, that it's not tinted by that little light purple color. It kind of gives you a little window into the selection so that you can see. But it confuses so many people as they are learning Excel, because you would think, hey, that's not selected. What do I need to do? And you might end up selecting it multiple times, which can cause problems. Don't do that. What you want to take heed of is the fact that it is selected. Here's the fastest way to know. because the border, see how the border goes around everything? And if you're a little concerned, you can look over here and say, nope, I see shading on the row, and I also see shading on the column, so I know that B8 is selected. All right, glad we got that squared away. Now let's come up here, because from the picture I saw a dollar sign, but we got to be kind of careful about that dollar sign because there's different formats, and we just need to make sure. When I hover my mouse over that dollar sign, it's not currency number, it's accounting number, and they're different. The way that accountants kind of put that dollar sign, in fact, I'm going to be a guinea pig here. What if I just clicked that? Does it look similar? What if we look at that? And what if I look at the picture? Do you see, gosh, this is such a nuanced difference. Do you see the difference? Look where the dollar sign is. Look how close it is. And then when I look in my spreadsheet, do you see the space? So an accountant likes the accountancy style. They like the dollar signs to be all lined up. But that's not what our instructions said. The instructions said we need currency. So if I click on that, whoops, I'm not going to click on that. So in this dialog box, there's lots of things to click on, and it changes all the time. I can click up here and see where it says currency. Maybe I'll just do that, currency. See what I did? Let me do that again. It's selected. To be affected, it must be selected. Click up here, currency. Excellent. Another very common technique is that you may want to click on the little button there. That's like what they call a call out box, and it will expand all the options. And ooh, you got lots and lots of extra stuff that you can do. I'm going to cancel that because we accomplished our task. So I typed my price there, and let's see, that was instruction number 8, I believe, currency number format. And the final thing they tell us in instruction 8 is to resize column A as needed to display all text. Okay, I'm going to save because I'm happy so far. I'm going to click away someplace so that I don't have anything really selected. I'm just picking an empty cell. And I do see that my text seems to be chopped off. If you're concerned, you can click where it says Samsung, and you can look at the formula bar to know that everything you typed is still in there. You just can't see it because the column is not wide enough. The easiest way to resize a column or a row so that it exactly fits the biggest value that's inside is to put your mouse way up high. See how I'm not down here in the cell? The mouse change is your cue to so many things. So when I put my mouse up on top of the column, it changes into a downward pointing arrow. In the worksheet, it can be a puffy white plus sign, but when I move it on top of the column, it turns into a downward pointing arrow. So I'm way up here on top of the column, and then I'm just going to move my mouse ever so slightly until it changes again. Excel changes that mouse like nobody's business, and you want to be on the lookout for that. When I get my mouse in between A and B columns, see how as I move it close to A and B, I get what I call a double-sided arrow. When you're in this configuration, and make sure your hand doesn't move, it's got to stay in that configuration, I want you to double click. Okay, if I double click and my mouse is not in that configuration, different things will happen. But when I double clicked, the column, I hope you saw it, expanded. I'm going to undo. Let's do that again. See how narrow it is? And if my mouse is off a little bit and I double click, well, what does that do? It doesn't do anything. I don't need that. Click away somewhere. Come back up. Move that mouse ever so slightly between A and B, and when you've got that double-sided arrow, keep your hand very still. Don't jump your hand around. Keep it still. Double click. It expanded to the largest value in the column, which was in the column which was cell A9. So perfect. Now, and that even helped my Flexpay calculator title to display much more nicely, which is why they didn't have us adjust it sooner. Let's save that. I have, completed 8 steps. How many steps are there total? What do we have? Oops, I might not have printed page 2. Uh-oh. How many steps do we have? Oh, we just have the 13 steps. Okay, so I am, more than halfway, right? Maybe this is a good time to get some automatic feedback from the MyIT grader. So let's save and let's close. Always close. Do not leave this open, folks. You are begging for trouble. If you leave Excel open, you leave the file open while you're uploading it. Not good. So let's close. Okay. Remember, I still have my browser open, and I kind of preset us up. We've already downloaded. Don't need to do that. We've got our steps. No problem. We need to choose our file. There's my file. I'm Betty Baker, in case you were wondering. That's my pretend name, Betty Baker. Open. Upload. Wait for that success. Yay. And then submit and keep your fingers crossed. Okay. Now, I get this. Does this happen to you? It happens to me all the time. Drives me nuts. Close. Come on, close. Nope, not going to close. So I just come up here and close the browser tab. Notice that I have multiple tabs open. I'm just going to close that. Now I'm back at my course materials tab, and 4% is the score we got last time. I'm really hoping we did a little bit better. I might need to refresh. I am, by the way, in the Chrome browser. Sometimes different browsers will put this little loopy circle in different places. A different browser may have it over here on this other side. When I refreshed, it kind of took me back out, so I have to go to Excel Chapter 2. Hey, I'm making progress. I'm up to a 64%. Look at me. Okay, that feedback's important, so let's go in. Look at View Submissions. And I'm really hoping that steps 1 through 8 are all marked correctly, because I've completed each one of those. Okay, it's giving me warnings. Let's double click this most recent submission. So far so good. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, looking good, looking good. So here I go. I know I have some more steps to complete here. So I'll just keep going. Let's go back. And I'll actually just go to course materials so that I'm going to set up, to submit again. Maybe we'll get to the final step. Excel to grader. Okay. Back to our instructions. Here we are. We finished step 8. Now we're on step 9. It tells us in cell C8, enter the payment function to calculate the monthly flex payment for the first option. What? Be sure to use the appropriate absolute, relative, or mixed cell references. Use the fill handle to copy the function down through cell C10. Make sure each of the monthly flex payments is a positive value. Oh, I need an aspirin, right? This is enough to just knock me out. What are they asking me to do? Okay, in cell C8 is an important thing, and I want to go over here to my picture because I can see cells, column C, here's 8. Okay, and they're describing the payment for the iPhone X as the first option. And if I was only looking at the picture, I might be tempted to type this value, and that would cause me to lose points. Don't want to do that. Each one of these 3 values is calculated as a monthly payment. And let's just push out of the forest so that we can see the trees, okay? In other words, let's think about what are we doing here? Big picture. What is the practical application? We're not just, don't just click, click, click. What are we trying to do here? Well, okay, let's just think about this. I got this phone. I want to buy an iPhone. And I've been told that the cost of this iPhone is $949. So sure, let me just pull out my cash. I don't have $949. I'm going to have to go on a payment plan. Okay, well, the APR, the annual percentage rate. So you know when you hear annual, that means the yearly percentage rate. So I'm going to pay for this for 36 years. It's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like that, right? How about 36 months? Now, I point that out because there's a little disparity here, right? I've got an annual percentage rate, but I've got monthly payments. Okay. Okay. Well, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So this payment to me looks like it's going to be monthly payments. I'm going to pay about $27.08 every month, okay, in order to pay off the phone. So here's the thing though. When I'm thinking about this and I'm setting up my spreadsheet, what if I can negotiate and I can say to, my cell phone provider or the person on eBay or whoever I'm trying to buy this phone from, I can pay it off in 24 months. Or I can pay it off, would you give me a better percentage rate? Can you give me 1.5% rather, for the loan rather than 1.75? And if I can negotiate those, I mean, I know it's better. I know it would be better, but what does that make the payment? If I pay it off faster, my payment I know is going to go up, but how far up? I'd really like to know. And if I get a better percentage rate, my payment, and still pay 36 months, this would go down, but how much? I'd kind of like to know. And I don't want to have to rely on somebody else to calculate that. And I kind of don't know how to calculate that, but that's the beauty of Excel. Excel's going to do it for me. And this, folks, this is the power of Excel. By you knowing this, the world seriously is your oyster. You're going to start to understand some stuff now. So let's walk through how to do this, because in my instructions, Step 9, it tells me I need to put this function in cell C8. Okay, let me go. Oh, I haven't opened Excel, so let me go open my Excel file. C8, what do we need to do in cell C8? Well, let's think about this for a minute. I'm about to do math. Oh my God, I'm about to do math. I didn't think I was taking a math class. Okay. But you get to use calculator, the most powerful calculator that you can put your fingers on. It's right there on your desktop. It's Excel. How do we get to that calculator? There's an on-off button for the calculator. Did you know that? The on-off button is the equal sign. And so you always, 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 always start any kind of math stuff in the cell by typing the equal sign. So when they told me type the payment function, what they said is you need your calculator. If I was going to tell Excel 2 plus 2, then I need the calculator. And I'm going to show you the difference that this makes. You can hit the escape on your keyboard once you start typing. If you say, oh, I didn't mean to do that, just click escape. That's the same as clicking this red X. It's a cancel. Okay, so I often will hit Excel. Let me show you the difference. I'm just going to come over here to this cell and I'm going to type 2 plus 2. And I'm going to hit enter because that's what I do when I'm finished. And Excel said, okay, you want to display 2 plus 2? Okay. No, I want to add 2 plus 2. Oh, you want to use the calculator. Well, in order to turn on the calculator, type the equal sign. Now type 2 plus 2 and press enter. What? Now Excel understood that you don't want to display 2 plus 2. You want me, Excel, to actually, calculate 2 plus 2 and type the value there. Now I'm going to even blow your mind more. When I click on cell G3, it said you typed 2 plus 2, and in the formula bar, I'm saying that's what you type, that's what you get. But in cell G4, I started with the equal sign, And look how it remembers. It says, I know what's in this cell. The number 4 is not in that cell. What's actually in that cell is 2 plus 2 in the calculator. It's kind of like this formula bar. If you maybe I'm old school, have you ever used an adding machine or a calculator where it shows you on the calculator screen, this is what you just typed in? So handy, because if you meant to type 2 plus 2 but you accidentally hit the number 1, and you got to look through that little receipt, that little paper, to find out where your error was. Well, that's what Excel is doing up here. It's saying the result is 4, but what you typed was equal 2 plus 2. And that equal just turns on the calculator. You only turn it on once. You would never say 2 plus 2 equals 2 plus 3. You would never, no, never, ever, ever do that. You only need the calculate to turn the calculator on one time. And then you can continue to, add, subtract, multiply, divide, whatever you need to do. I might as well do that. And it would calculate that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to delete that. I'm selecting it and I'm pressing delete on my keyboard, because before we start this function, I just want you to feel comfortable with that Excel is going to do the work for you. You do not have to be a math whiz, mathematician to do this. Excel's going to do this for you, okay? So click in cell C8, and what did they tell us? They said you're going to have to type this payment function, and that was code for we're about to do some math. So I know I need to turn on the calculator so I can type the equal sign. Now, if you are really, like, you're comfortable with Excel, they told us to type PMT. And I can do that. And Excel will come up and it will start trying to help us with that function. It even tells us a little bit about that function. And if I'm comfortable with functions, just jump in there and start doing it. No problem at all. No problem. Remember, I can hit the escape key on my keyboard, or I can hit cancel, right? I am going to cancel. I'm going to escape out of this because I don't know anything about these functions. I am new to Excel and I am learning, and there is nothing wrong with that. So in cell C8, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to use one of the built-in tools. This is called the Insert Function tool. Okay, see that little scripty F? Click on that little scripty F. And all I know is that they told me to use the PMT function. And so in this little search box, it tells me type a brief description of what you want to do, and then click go. And what Excel will do is it will search all of its functions and it will try to come up with a match to what you want to do. Well, notice that it's selected right now. So if you clicked in there, that's fine, just select it, because when it's selected, if you start to type, it'll automatically delete it. So see how I have it selected, PMT, and it just deleted it. Okay. Now, that's all I know is I'm supposed to use something PMT. I'm going to click on go. And Excel said, oh, okay, you're trying to use something. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? And if I'm not sure, each time I click on one of these functions, these are all functions that are built into Excel, it tells me a little bit about it down below. So I can read the description and I can try to decide if that's what I want. Now, like I said, they told us this time it's PMT. And it tells me this calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. Well, we know our payments, there's going to be 36 payments, and we know our interest rate, and this is a yearly interest rate. Okay. Here's something else it tells me. It says this is what the function is going to look like. PMT, open parenthesis, and then some things inside so that I can calculate. I need to know these values. I need to know rate. I need to know, INPER. And you're like, well, INPER, I don't know what INPER is. PV, FV, type. Okay, well, that's okay. Excel is going to keep on helping us. I've got the payment selected, PMT, and I could click on help on this function. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to tell you this other way that Excel is really helpful. Let's recap. I'm in cell C8. I don't know how to use the payment function, scripty F, insert function. I don't know. It says PMT. I just type it. I click go. I've selected it. I've read the description. I do want this one. I'm going to click on OK. Ah, those were the things that it said it needs to calculate the value. But there's even some extra stuff going on here. Can you see on my screen? I don't know if this is big enough. Can you see that the first three are bolded and the last two are not? That means that anything that's bolded is required. You must have an interest rate. You must have this NPER. You must have a PV. You do not have to have a FV. You do not have to have a type. These are optional. But Excel is not done helping us. As I click into each one of these values, do you see my screen changing down here? Excel is helping us, just like it helped us with the identify the correct function. Now it's helping us use the function. So it says rate. Well, rate, it says, is the interest rate per period for the loan. Okay, for example, use 6% divided by 4 for quarterly payments at 6 APR. Here's the gist of what they're saying. They're saying make sure when you think about the number of payments that your payments and your interest rate are in the same time units, right? So if I'm going to do 36 monthly payments, then I can't use an annual interest rate. Well, how do I make a year match months? Well, I just divide by 12, right? Okay. So here I am with the rate, and here it is, 1.75%. I'm just going to click on it and see how it put the cell in there. You're going to like that. Don't you dare type 1.75 like they said. Don't you dare type the number in there, because then you can't manipulate that interest rate as easily. But this is an annual interest rate, and I want monthly payments. So to change that to months, divide by 12. The rate is the interest rate per period, and that period for us is months. It's already telling us the value. Okay. Let's keep going. NPER. What the heck is an NPER? NPER is the total number of payments for the loan. Well, how many payments? Don't you dare type 36. You tell Excel where to get that information. Excel, get the number of payments from B4. Just click on it. See? PV. What's a PV? PV is the present value. In other words, what do you presently owe? What are you going to owe? Well, I presently am going to owe $949. So I'm going to click that. Okay. A great thing that Excel does is it goes ahead and tells me what the answer is going to be. Now, this might be kind of small on your screen, but can you see that I am going to end up paying negative $27? That's weird. That makes it sound like somebody's going to pay me $27. Negative because it's money out of your pocket, right? You're in the hole for $27 every month, but it's not the way that we typically talk about it. So they tell us in the instructions that they want this to be a positive number. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have the instructions. Let me just jump back over here so I can show you. In cell C8, enter a payment function to calculate the monthly flex payment for the first option. Be sure to use the appropriate, we can't forget this, absolute, relative, or mixed cell references. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Use the fill handle to copy the function down through the next two cells, and make sure the monthly flex payment is a positive value. Okie dokie. In order to make this, from negative to positive, I really there's 50 ways to do this. You need to put a negative sign someplace, or else you need to multiply by -1. The common practice is that before your cell reference, you're just going to type a negative. Okay, see how I did that? I know that's probably small, but for the PV, I put in a little negative sign there. Now, I just want to make sure you're comfortable with the function. You did a payment. You said, what is the rate? The rate is in cell B3. That's an annual rate, so I need to divide by 12. The number of payments can be found in cell B4. And then what I'm going to owe, my present value, is found in cell B8. But to make my formula come out to a positive number, I'm going to make that negative. I am going to go ahead and make an error here because I'm going to click OK. And that looks great. And I worked so hard. Look at my formula up here. It's telling me here's my value. And up here it's telling me here's my formula. And I can double check. I can look at the picture. $27.08. And that is exactly what I have, $27.08. That is really awesome. Now, what they told me to do in the instructions is to use this fill handle. Now, do you see my mouse? I am going to make this bigger. Do you see my mouse changing from puffy white plus sign? And as I move, watch all these changes. Look at that. And look how that is different than that. Ah, look how that's different than that. Different than this. See, that mouse is changing all over the place? Okay, those changes are significant, so they require some real delicate mouse work, okay? When I move my mouse onto the edge, the selection border, anytime I have anything selected, see how the mouse changes? So I have this cell C8, I have it selected. And that's important because when you typed your formula, if you hit the enter key, you might be down here. And if I say, oh, well, see, here I am, that's not, you're working with the wrong cell. What is selected will be affected. So make sure cell C8 is selected. When I move my mouse over the selection border, this is the shape for moving. And if I click and drag, did you see how it moved it? It took it away from here and it moved it someplace else. That's a common error, actually, because people say, what just happened? I didn't want that. And you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread is click on undo. Undo. Put it back. Undo. Okay? That's because I was up here. As I move my mouse down this selection border, and I see that dot right there? That is the fill handle. And when I get my mouse, I mean exactly over that fill handle, it changes from a puffy white plus sign to a thin black plus sign. What I do not want is four-sided arrow. That's what I call this one, four-sided arrow. I want thin black plus sign. Thin black plus sign is magical. It gives special powers because when I press that and drag, it's going to copy my formulas. Oh no! What has happened? I did this on purpose because I want you to see what Excel is doing. Remember a minute ago, I'm going to undo. I just undo. Remember a moment ago I said when you click in the cell with the formula, you see the answer, the result here, but up in the formula bar is where you see what's going on. And when we looked at this formula, we said we need the calculator, that's the equal sign. We're going to use the payment function, PMT, no spaces, immediately followed by a parenthesis. They did that for us because they showed us that that has to be there. No spaces, equal, PMT, open parenthesis. All functions require parentheses. The first argument or piece of data that they asked us for was, what is the percentage rate? We said you can find that in cell B3, but because it's annual, please divide that by 12. Comma, meaning here's the next piece of data, the next argument that you asked for. You asked us how many payments are there? We said you'll find that information, Excel, in cell B4. B4. Okay? Then they said, well, how much are you borrowing? What is your present value of debt? Well, my present value can be found here in cell B8. And we want the end result to be positive, so we'll just put a little negative sign in there. That's great. Then I kind of taught you, put that mouse over that fill handle, and I'm just going to copy down one time. And I see a pound sign and a num and an exclamation point, and that means there's an error. And that error, when I click on it, I need to kind of research this. And Excel has some built-in tools that will help you. Right now it's telling me there's a problem. Let's just do this the old-fashioned way and let's look at the formula. Okay, I need my calculator. That means I need the equal sign. It told me to use the PMT function, no spaces. There it is. It said the PMT function, all functions, have to have a parentheses. There it is, no spaces. And then it asked me, where is the interest rate? And we said B4. What? We didn't say B4. We said B3. And if we're not sure, we're going to click back up on the formula that's working correctly. I'm going to tell you a little tip about Excel users. They might be clicking down here. They're not looking down here. They're looking up here. Because when I click, I look, I see B3. Then I change my selection and I see B4 and I see the error in my formula. If I'm going to copy this formula down, maybe I'm going to look at about 20 different phone models. I do not want to have to go up here and manually change this to B3 every single time. I want Excel to understand that we always want that interest rate is always located in cell B3. So I am going to lock it on. I'm going to lock B3 down. And the way that we lock it is we create what Excel calls an absolute reference. And absolutely, I want this to be cell B3. Now, you will notice that I am not correcting the erroneous formula because that's not the one I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy my original formula. So that's the one that I'm working on. Let me stop and let you think about that. I am not correcting the erroneous formula. I'm going to delete the erroneous formula. I am going to correct the formula that is already correct because the error in this formula is that it was not configured to be copied. That's all. How do I configure it to copy? I need to make sure that cell B3 is always used in the formula. I'm going to lock it with an absolute reference. Now, do you see when I move my mouse, do you see the shape change again? This is an I-beam. You're probably familiar with this from Word. And whenever I click, it's going to put a cursor. So I'm going to put that I-beam right between the parenthesis and B. And I'm going to click. When I move that away, see how it put an insertion point? Let me hit escape. Put my mouse up here in the formula bar, move that I-beam to right before the B in cell B3 and click. And I'm going to type a $sign. That is the symbol that Excel uses to say lock down column B. This cell is always going to begin with column B. But we need more. We don't just want to lock the column. We need to lock the row. The row is row 3. So I can either use my arrows or I can click, and I'm going to take my mouse up here. I'm putting it between B and 3. I'm going to click again. See how the insertion point is between B and 3? I'm going to type a $sign. That means lock on to column B, lock on to row 3. To use the Excel words, I absolutely want column B, and I absolutely want row 3. I absolutely must have the interest rate, which is absolutely in B3. That is an absolute reference. Okay? Follow me here. What do I do when I finish typing in a cell? Press the Enter key. Still says $27.08. Why did I go through all that work? Oh my God. Right? Because you knew you're going to copy this formula. Let's see how we did. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Okay, I'm not done yet, because when I look at this erroneous formula, I say, well, what's going on? The payment function wanted me to go back to cell B3 for the interest rate. And in fact, if you're confused at this point, you can click that little scripty F and it will reopen that formula. And it said, okay, the next value was the number of payments, 0. How can I have 0 payments? That's not right. B5, it's not B5. It's supposed to be B4. Oh, looking ahead, what else do you see? I see negative B9. Well, that would be right. B9 would be $799. That is relative to the row that we're on. So that one's okay. But we still have a problem with the number of payments. Let's cancel. Why not just fix it right here? No, 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 no. Do not fix that formula because the problem is in the original formula. You're going to copy this, which means you need to fix the original. So delete that erroneous formula because yes, it is broken. It is wrong, but the problem is the source. It's the original formula that you're copying. Let's look at this formula again. I click my little scripty f of x. Well, I think that we've got the interest rate locked down. Click before B, click before 3, to make sure that that interest rate is always B3. We put those dollar signs to absolutely. So I know. How do I make sure that the number of payments absolutely always comes from cell B4? Well, I absolutely need a dollar sign. See how I clicked there? Before the column, and I absolutely need a dollar sign before the row. Click OK. Could I have just clicked up here and typed those dollar signs? Absolutely. Now my original formula is correct. Moving my mouse, nope, not four-sided arrow. Thin, black, magical, powerful plus sign. This is the fill handle. That little notch is the fill handle. And my puffy white plus sign becomes ultra powerful as a thin black plus sign when I press and drag. By creating the original formula correctly, I can copy it and I can see that my values are still B3 and B4. See how I click down here, but I look up here, and this formula, B3 and B4. Now, what about the $7.99? Well, that is a relative reference. Relative to row 8, get this cell over here. Relative to row 9, get the cell. See? It's relative to where the formula is, relative to where I copied it, but I absolutely need to go to the number of payments, and I absolutely need to go to the interest rate. Whew. Before I save, I'm going to compare $27, $22.18. Let's look at the picture. $27, $22.18. So I'm feeling good. I feel like my values are correct. I'm going to save, but let's face it, maybe I did something wrong. So maybe I should submit this into the grader. You could certainly do that. Just for the length of time on the video, I'm going to keep going a little bit further. But that was what are we on? That was step 9. Okay, let's go a little further. We're going to type highest payment, average payment, lowest payment in the cell range A12 to A14. If I am confused, I look at my picture. Highest, average, lowest payment. Highest payment, is that capitalized? Let me look at my instructions. No, lowercase. Highest payment. Whenever I'm finished typing, hit enter. Average payment. Whenever I'm finished typing, hit enter. Lowest payment. Finished typing, hit enter. So far, so good. Go ahead and click on save. Going back to my instructions. That was easy. Whew, they gave me an easy one. Good. Step 10. Almost done. Step 11. In cell B12, use the max function to get the highest payment. and put that in cell, oh, I'm sorry, that goes in cell B12. In cell B13, use the average function to calculate the average. In cell B14, use the min function, max, average, min function. So let's explore our functions a little bit. If I go to back to my Excel spreadsheet and I come over here to cell B12, if I know the function, they have told me the function name is max. Well, I need to use my calculator. How do we turn on the calculator? I know the name of the function is max. No spaces. This is not English class. No spaces. Max. Here's what I know about functions. They always have parentheses. So I'm going to open that parenthesis. No spaces. Equal was the calculator. Max is the function. All functions have parentheses. Now, I want to look through a range of cells, and I can type that range if I want. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my instructions again because in cell B12, max got the highest flex payment. I just want to make sure they weren't looking for the highest price. They're looking for the highest payment. And so that is cell C8 through cell C10. I can certainly type that if I want. C8 colon, that's the 2 dots, means through, C10. And see how Excel is selecting that? Now, there are many ways to do this. I could have used my mouse, absolutely, and just drug over that. Next thing I need to know is that all functions have those parentheses. I need to close my parentheses. And did you see Excel do a check? Let me show you that again. I delete that parenthesis. Watch the parentheses. I'm going to type the closing. A common error in Excel is to have an opening or a closing parenthesis that does not have a mate. They must be in pairs, okay? So let's look at this. All formulas start with an equal sign. That's how I turn on the calculator. Then I decided to use a function, max. All functions have parentheses, open parentheses. What am I supposed to find the max of? I'm supposed to look in this range C8 through C10, close parentheses. Enter. Okay. Average payment. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that I'm in cell B13, that you can go up to auto sum, and there is a little drop down arrow, and you can pick average. Okay, got to watch it though, right? Look what it pre-filled in for us. The calculator starts with an equal sign, is activated with equal sign. Another way to say that would be all equations start with an equal sign. The function name is average. All functions have parentheses. So I'm going to take the average of what? B12, not B12. Just ignore it and select or type the proper range. Since B12 is already selected, I'm just going to select what I want. Now, what happens if you start doing this and then you start doing this? I don't know. What the heck just happened? You're going to have some errors that you might have to fix. You can either just select that and delete it, or you can come up into the top part. Let's say that somehow before I looked, it did, it said what's the average. Okay, let's say I wasn't paying attention. And in cell B13, I went up here, I said average, and then before I even looked, I hit enter. Well, I know that that's wrong. I know not by looking at cell B13, I know by looking at the formula bar. In that case, I might have to edit the formula. How do we do that? We know how to do that. Move your mouse up to the formula bar, click to make your insertion point, move your mouse out of the way, and then delete what you need to delete and type what you need to type. In this case, I can still even use my mouse. See how interactive that is? C8 through C10. Press enter. Finally, lowest, they told me to use the min function. What if I'm not familiar with min? Well, in cell B14, I could use my insert function tool. It says type a brief description, and I'm trying to find the lowest value. I don't know how to do that. Oh, see, that's bad. This brings up an interesting point. I deliberately did not use the word minimum because it would have been too much of a giveaway for Excel. And look how it didn't come up with what I need. So learning to speak the language of Excel is very important. I need the lowest value. In other words, I need the minimum value. No, it still didn't. Goodness. Oh, there it is. Last choice, last choice. That happens sometimes. You end up having to, you say dmin, and that turns out it's a database function. Hopefully you would read through and you'd eventually get to min. Returns the smallest number in a set of values. Ignores logical values and text. I don't know. Okay, click on min. Now it says, give me the list of numbers. In other words, put one number here and one number here, and then it would even let me put more numbers. But I'm just going to give it a range. My point here is not to confuse you. You can pick one method of typing in the function that you like, but I want you to be exposed to this. You can rewatch the video and you can choose the method that's best for you. Okay. I'm going to save because I think I've done good. And I'm going to look at my picture, 27, 22, 18. Is that still 27, 22, 18? Absolutely. Okay, but if I had typed those numbers, do you think the computer would know? Do you think Dr. McGrory would know? Dr. McGrory would know if you type those numbers. Okay, these are calculated values. Now, I am going to submit this into the grader and let's see where we stand. But I want to tell you the reason for your hard work. And let me save. Okay, I've saved this. Here's the reason that you did not type those values. Because you said, I might be able to pay it off in 24 months. And because we did not type 24 months, and because we didn't go off and use a calculator to calculate this and then type those values in, we're going to get the power of Excel. If I can pay this off in 24 months, what would my payment be? Well, 24, enter. Did you see? It recalculated in a flash. I mean, just that quick. It recalculates. So you know what? It's going to be a little bit more. It's going to be $40 a month. Can you swing $40 a month? Well, if so, I think what you're going to find out is that you're going to pay a lot less in interest, right? So you'll save money in the long run if you can do that. Well, no. I can't pay it off in 24 months. Okay, undo. But hey, cell phone person selling me the cell phone, could you do any better on that interest rate? Would you consider 1.5, 1.5? Notice it already has the percent symbol there. Enter. Look, saved myself a little bit of money. Did you see that? Go from 27 down to 26. It's not a huge savings, but let me tell you, every little bit helps. I'm going to undo. Imagine this. Imagine these weren't phones. Imagine this was a car and you put in 5,000, and you could do that. Just pretend with me for a moment. You say, I think I can buy that car for $5,000. So instead of 949, 5,000. Now, I didn't mean to do this, but see those pound signs there, all those hashtags? That is not an error. That simply means that the number is too big to fit. Imagine if it only displayed 500. That would give me a really false sense of the value. So it doesn't want to display part of the number. So instead, it just simply displays these pound signs. But I can see in my formula bar that the value there is 5,000. And look how it changed my payment. If I made this column bigger, I don't want to do that because I'm about to submit it for grading. If I made the column bigger, what the heck? How do we make it bigger? Remember? What do I do when I get my mouse? Double click. See how it displays so nicely? So now what I'm seeing is that this would be my car payment. But maybe they won't give me 1.75%. Maybe the car dealer said we'll do this for 2%. I just type 2, hit enter. See how it's changing the values? But I call my bank and the bank says they'll give it to me for 1%. I think I can pay it off in 24 months. Here's my point. Do you see the numbers changing? This is only happening because when you entered this formula, you referred to cells that have those values. And so as you change the values in those cells, the result changes. And I see students all the time who try to just type in the answer. Excel will give you the answer. All you're learning is how to create this little, to use these pre-built-in functions. You say, I don't know how to calculate monthly, payment on a loan, given that I don't know how to do that. You do not have to, because remember, Excel will walk you through it. You say, but I don't know all the functions. It takes time. It takes time. How do you learn them? You learn them through classes. You learn them from colleagues who will say, oh, just use this function. And you say, you know what? I know that all, to turn on the calculator, all equations start with an equal sign. I know that all functions have parentheses, right? So this is how you learn. I'm going to cancel. Now, you may remember that I saved before we started doing all this, and I've made a lot of changes that I do not want to save. So I'm going to close that, and I am not going to save. And because I do not trust myself, I'm going to open that Excel spreadsheet right back up, and I'm going to make sure that it matches that picture. Whew. Okay, my formulas are good. Everything looks okay. Close this. Do you think we did good? I feel like we did good. Let's go back to my IT lab. We do not need to download again. We can go directly to choose file. We're going to pick Betty Baker, open, upload, success, submit for grading. Oh no, I missed something. Uh-oh. I hope as I was playing around that I did not cause a problem. Now, of course, you know that you have to score within that 70% window. Anything 70 or above is full points for the assignment, which I think is generous on my part. Anything 70 below, which is, a D and an F, you get no points, okay? You get the feedback and you have unlimited attempts. This is spelled out in the syllabus. I have included it in emails, and I want you to take advantage of that for the learning. Folks, businesses love for you to know how to use Excel. It's a really important skill to have. So take some time to learn. Let's look at our submissions. 3 dots, view submissions. Here's my third submission. Let's see what I missed. Well, did pretty good. Uh-oh, what did... Oh, goodness. Did I skip steps? I didn't even see that. I did. Boy, I just jumped straight to the end. I totally skipped step 12. Insert a footer with your name on the left side, the sheet name in the center, and the file name code on the right side. So let's do that final step. I'm just going to go right back to course materials. I should leave it for you as a challenge, but I think you can do it. Not concerned at all. And I know this video is long, but hopefully I'm helping you do your homework, right? How long have we gone? Ooh, over an hour, so sorry. You've learned a lot, though, and if you're new to Excel, I hope that these tips and tricks are very helpful. Okay, here I am in my Excel spreadsheet. There are many ways to adjust the header and the footer and that. I'm going to go to page layout, and here I have these options across the top. Do not necessarily see header and footer, but if I click in page setup, see here? See this? Page setup. See that little call out? Click that. And You got to, in Excel, there's always a lot of options. So see these tabs across the top? Don't forget to look up to see these tabs. Header, footer. And you're like, I don't even get this. Well, this is a little preview of the header, and this is a little preview of the footer. And if you had a footer that you knew that you wanted, you could just pick it from this predefined list and see how it's previewing it there. Same for the header. And it previews it. And so these are predefined ones, but I don't want those. They told me very specifically that we need to make a custom footer. So I'm going to put these back to none, and I'm going to click the custom footer. And the way the footer is here is very different than Word. Here's the left part of the footer, the center part of the footer, and the right part of the footer. In Word, we did this with tabs, okay? But it says insert a footer with your name on the left side. Well, my student name is Betty Baker, so I'm going to type her name. And then it says the sheet name in the center. Oh, remember it was called Flexpay. I don't want to type that because what if I decide to change that name later? Then I would have to remember to come back into this center section and change it. So in order to insert the sheet name, I'm going to look at these little buttons across the top. This is the file name. Here's the folder name. If you ever forget, if you're like me, sometimes you forget where you save things. But if I look across, it says insert sheet name. And this is how they code that. They put a little ampersand and square bracket, the word tab, close square bracket. You can type those, to tell you the truth, but I like to just click that button. Then on the right side, our last instruction, it says, and the file name code on the right side of the worksheet. Well, the file name is this button. Okay, name, worksheet name, file name. Click OK. Oops, it's running over, but that's because the preview space is so small. Click OK. Notice whenever I go into the print setup, it tells me where the page is going to end. That varies. It depends on how big your columns are. So it's not always in this location. But that's a nice little, it'll tell me, and it'll change that later on. I'm going to save that because I feel good about it. I might even print preview so that I can see what it's going to look like. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to close. And let's see if I should have typed that worksheet name instead of using the code. Upload. Success. Submit. Close. It's not going to close, so I'm going to close the tab. Is it going to refresh for me? Maybe I need to refresh. Oh, goodness. That's no good. That's thinking is what the problem is. Well, that is always fun, isn't it? Some of you are saying, yeah, welcome to our world, aren't you? Is that what you're saying? Oh, I might have blown its mind. Well, let's just log right back in. If I was a movie writer, I would say to be continued, and I would leave you with a cliffhanger of what my final score is. Oh, it even kept me signed in. Okay, that was interesting. I'm sorry, folks, I know this is going long, but if you follow along, you'll be done with your homework. And let's see. Oh, yay, 100%. All right. So here's the deal, folks. I got 100%. I've shown you every step along the way. Each one of you should get 100%. I appreciate your time and your commitment to the course, and we'll be talking to you later. Thanks.